African People's Convention President Themba Godi joins us now from Bushbuck region in Mpumalanga. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Your thoughts about why you think Pravin Gordhan is the man to blame for the chaos that we're seeing in terms of energy in the country at the moment?
Well, look, we have a problem of load shedding. And I'm sure, as you can see, load shedding has happened this side in Bushbuck region as we're talking. And when we have this problem, surely there are people who are hired to run Eskom, that is management, the board, and the ministry. So when you have a problem that persists, it means that the people who have been hired to run that institution are failing in their primary responsibility, because their primary responsibility is to ensure that we have reliable, affordable supply of electricity, and that is not happening. So we're not going to blame the devil for this, for all his sins. In this particular instance, there are clear and specific people who should take responsibility and be accountable for what is happening to the country. And Minister Pravin Gordhan, as the Minister of Public Enterprises, has failed to provide and to exercise leadership to stop load shedding. If anything, we have seen a deterioration.
What kind of leadership do you think he could provide? Some people have constantly made the comparison of, you buy a car, you're supposed to service it periodically, because if you don't, one day it's going to break down. And it doesn't matter who's driving the car when at the end that car is broken. Do you blame the driver at the end, or has it been because it's been badly driven over time?
Well, Pravin Gordhan was not appointed last week. It's almost 4 years that he has been a minister. I don't know if he needs 15 years to fix Eskom. Or what, but here is the fact. I mean, ever since Pravin Gordhan came to office, there have been a variety of explanations. The one you are giving is just but one of the many explanations. When he first came in, they said the problem was affirmative action, that experienced non-African artisans had been thrown out, and they were going to get Italian engineers. And then we're told that the problem was a lack of maintenance. But if you look at the audited results of the AG at a time when they said there was no maintenance, it is proven to be wrong. There was maintenance. Then that moved to another reason, which said even now Eskom does not have the budget to maintain, even though they plan maintenance, but they don't have the money to maintain themselves right now. Then it moved to there is sabotage. There are sabotage groups, and then it moved to there are companies that are delivering coals with stones and pieces of iron. So my point is that the reason you're giving is one of the many that had been given. But you see, when you're appointed as a leader, your responsibility is not to tell us the problems, it's to bring solutions to those problems. That's why you're appointed. So if no one is to blame, why do we have people who are appointed at Eskom and are paid every month? Why do we have a board? Why do we have a ministry?
So where does leadership start and interference begin? Leadership end and interference begin? Because he's been accused in the past as well of perhaps interfering too much at Eskom.
Well, it's a pity that when there was that meeting where one of the board members said there was interference, she was not allowed to state what it was. So we're left to speculating what it's all about. I think for me, the point really that you're raising is a moot point, because the converse of it would be, so what is the point of having a ministry of public enterprises if you have enterprises that are failing and there's no leadership provided by the minister? I mean, their day-to-day operations, you have load shedding, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Surely, should the minister be spectating like all of us, or should there be intervention? I mean, the minister appoints the board. Is the board exercising sufficient leadership? He went to look for the CEO director. Are those people delivering? I mean, for me, that's a moot point, really. That cannot and should never be the point we debate, that we have a ministry and the SOE is failing, especially in an instance where it affects everybody in the country. Everybody is affected by load shedding. Everybody is frustrated by load shedding. Everybody suffers economically from load shedding. And everybody wants to see a solution as in yesterday. And it appears that all those that are in that chain of accountability in relation to Eskom, no one has answers. There are never-ending complaints about problems, but without providing solutions. The responsibility of leadership, as far as we understand in the APC, is to solve problems and overcome challenges. But and I want to say, Peter, our country has no reason to have the kind of problems we have, seeing that the raw material to produce electricity is abundant in our country. And Eskom had been designed in such a way that it uses low quality coal. So you are not competing with the export market. We should be having enough. But you see, part of the problem as far as the APC is concerned, it's this need to privatize Eskom. And the approach all over the world, it's defund, mismanage, create problems until people can say, enough is enough, whatever is the solution, let it come, we don't want load shedding. And therefore, Eskom can be privatized. So part of it, or in large measure, the problems we're having are man-made. They're deliberate, they are meant to achieve a particular outcome. You recall, Peter, I'm sure being in the news, you got wind of this, that in the British Parliament last week, it was reported that President Ramaphosa has promised the British that they are on course to decommission Eskom. Now, what that means, it means closing down on the coal-fired power stations. And once you do that without any alternative power generation mechanism, then you're going to have a short supply of electricity and you're going to have load shedding in perpetuity. Now, the IPPs, renewables, we don't as yet have the technology to fully harness whatever electricity they generate, not only in South Africa, but all over the world. There's no country that runs its economy on the basis of renewable energy.
All right, perhaps as a final question. So what you'd like to see is Minister Pravin Gordhan resign. Do you want the executive at Eskom also and the board to move out and make way for new faces?
Look, Peter, what we want is an end to load shedding. That's our fundamental call. But if load shedding does not end, then the management at Eskom, the board at Eskom, and the minister then have no reason to stay in their post if they can't provide electricity to all South Africans. That is the call of the APC, and that is the call that we believe is a national call. It's not a party political call, and we would love that all South Africans, instead of complaining in the taxis, in the buses, at home, at work, let's stand up and say enough is enough. Load shedding must stop. If it doesn't, those that are responsible for running this entity must be fired so that we could get competent people.
APC President Themba Godi, always good talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time and your thoughts tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the President of the African People's Convention, Themba Godi, speaking to us about why they feel that the current Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, needs to step down over the Eskom energy crisis.